Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the Thursday Night Football Showdown slate on Draftkings for Week 7. We got the Broncos and the Browns playing this Thursday night. This is a very interesting showdown slate. As you can see just here by the DK, player pool, literally half the slate is either out or questionable. Baker Mayfield, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, Jerry Jeudy, Jarvis Landry either out or potentially could be out. We'll have to wait and see on Jeudy and Landry. And then Teddy Bridgewater's questionable, Odell Beckham's questionable. It's going to be a tough slate. I'm recording this video on Wednesday afternoon, so it's going to be tough to really give my full in-depth thoughts because we're going to need some news on Bridgewater, on some of these other receivers, on Odell Beckham. But I'll try and break everything down for you guys. We'll go through the player pool from top to bottom. Kind of talk through this showdown slate, how I'm looking to approach it. It's not the best game. It's a low total game, only a 41 total, but big money once again. DraftKings, even with NBA returning, we still got a milli maker, $1 million to first, 2.5 or 2.25 million in total prizes for this showdown slate. So DraftKings is still, they're still putting out huge contests for showdown, even with NBA back. So I wanted to cover showdown. I'm still going to be playing showdown as well, even though NBA is back. But yeah, guys, before we do get started with the breakdown, as always, I would appreciate it if you would click that like button down below. If you're new to the channel here, make sure you click that subscribe button as well. I'm uploading a ton of content to my channel right now. I'm still going to be making NFL videos, Monday night showdown videos, Thursday night showdown videos. I'm still going to have my final look video for the main slate going up on Fridays. And I'm going to be covering NBA as well. As you know, NBA season just started like a couple days ago. I'm going to try and make NBA videos just about every single day, if not like Monday through Friday. So a ton of content coming on the channel, guys. Uploading videos just about every single day. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you have notifications on as well, so that way you do get notified every time I upload. You also do get notified whenever I do live stream. But let's go ahead and start off at the top. So Baker Mayfield obviously out. The most expensive player on this slate is Teddy Bridgewater. Right now we don't have any confirmation on if Bridgewater is going to play or not. I assume that he will play. He was limited in practice on Wednesday, listed as questionable. I assume Teddy Bridgewater plays. If he does, just given how this slate is kind of shaking out, I think Bridgewater is going to be a top option just in terms of raw projection. I think Bridgewater probably will come in with the highest projection on the slate just in terms of raw fantasy points. Quarterbacks normally give you very high floors. Quarterbacks are normally staples of my lineups on the showdown slates. So I think if Bridgewater plays, even in a bad matchup, even in a gross game, he's still a good option on this slate in my opinion. So I do have a lot of interest in Bridgewater if he's able to play. I don't know if I'm going to be using him at captain, but I think as a flex option gives you a very safe floor and obviously has somewhat of a ceiling as well. Then you got Courtland Sutton in 10K. I think Courtland Sutton is probably my favorite captain if I'm paying up at the captain spot. Courtland Sutton's been an elite wide receiver 1 so far this year. He's been getting good volume as well. Back-to-back games with double-digit targets. He's shown that he can go for 100-plus yards with a touchdown, any week. The matchup against the Browns is not great. The Browns do have a solid defense, but I think just banking on the talent of Courtland Sutton, banking on, given how many other studs are out. We don't have Nick Chubb. We don't have Kareem Hunt. There's just so many other guys out that Courtland Sutton looks like one of the better pay-up options. So I do like him a lot at 10K. I think he makes for a really good captain play. Then you got Case Keenum, who will be starting for the Browns in place of Baker Mayfield. DraftKings did bump up the price for Keenum. He's $9,400, but I still think Keenum is a solid option as well. Again, I tend to side with playing the quarterbacks on showdown slates. Rarely do you see the quarterbacks not be in the winning lineup. Normally, a large majority of the time, at least one of the two quarterbacks is going to wind up being in the winning lineup, if not both quarterbacks, because again, quarterbacks just give you such a high floor. Even if you get a bad game from a quarterback, it's usually 10, 12 points, which sometimes can be good enough. So I think Keenum, even though he's making his first start of the year, even though we don't really know what we're going to get from Case Keenum, he's only $9,400. He's not that expensive. There's plenty of value on the showdown slate. With so many guys being out, we do have some value that we will talk about later. I think Keenum's a good play too. If Teddy Bridgewater is playing, I would prefer Teddy Bridgewater over Keenum, but I do think playing both quarterbacks is something you can obviously do on this slate. But then you got Noah Fant at $8,200. Noah Fant at this price point I think is fine. I think Noah Fant's going to be a lower owned pay-up option. I expect Sutton to get more ownership. I expect the quarterbacks to get more ownership. At his price point, I don't think Fant really stands out, but Noah Fant is still pretty heavily involved in this Broncos offense. He's gotten double-digit targets in 2 of their last 3 games. He's still going to be pretty much close to an every down tight end. Last week he played 89% of the snaps. The week before that, 97%. Like, he's playing just about every single snap. He's going to get the opportunity. His price is a little high for my liking, but I think Noah Fant is still playable. I would prefer some other guys, though, like Sutton, if you can get up to him, or you could pay down for, like, Odell and some other guys that we'll talk about. But Fant's definitely viable. Now, Jerry Jeudy, we don't know yet if he's going to play or not. It doesn't seem like he's going to play. It seems like he's trending more towards doubtful than questionable. They said that he's got, like, less than a 50% chance to play. But if Jerry Jeudy does play, this is a super talented receiver, a guy with a lot of upside. We don't really know what his health is going to be. We don't really, I wouldn't think he's going to be 100% if he does play. But with how this slate is shaken up, there's not going to be a ton of guys that you have much confidence in, on this slate with just how it's shaken up. So I think, even if we don't get 100% Jerry Jeudy here, he could still be playable on this slate, in my opinion. It doesn't seem like Jerry Jeudy's going to play, but if he does, I do have a little bit of interest in him at 8K. Now, Tim Patrick has kind of been the biggest beneficiary in terms of just playing time and volume with Jerry Jeudy out. He's seen his snaps, go way up. He's been getting good volume as well. So week 1, he plays 70% of the snaps, and really every week after that, he's been pretty much an every down route receiver. Obviously, Jerry Jeudy got injured in week 1. Like last 3 weeks, Tim Patrick's playing 89, 95, 92% of the snaps. Him and Cortland Sutton are pretty much every down wide receivers. Yeah, you're going to get like 6 to 8 targets for Tim Patrick. I think Tim Patrick is in play here. If Jerry Jeudy does play, which I think is unlikely, but if Jerry Jeudy does play, I would probably get off of Tim Patrick. I think his price tag is probably a little high if Jeudy winds up playing. But if Jeudy remains out, yeah, Tim Patrick at 7,600, I think is someone that, is definitely playable. I would probably prefer, getting up to Sutton if I can, but I think Tim Patrick is totally fine. Then you got the Denver running backs who I've just kind of been avoiding this whole season. Melvin Gordon at 7,400, Javonte Williams at 7K. I mean, it's been like a 50-50 split between these two guys. Last week, Melvin Gordon played 53% of the snaps. Javonte Williams played 47%. The week before that, Gordon played 60%. Javonte played 42%. Like I said, it's a 50-50 split between Williams and Gordon. I think Williams is the way more talented running back. I think they're going to get pretty similar touches. Who gets the goal line work, that's a big question. We don't really know. If I have to pick one of the two Denver running backs, I'm going to side with Javonte Williams. I just think he gives you a little bit more upside. I think he's a lot more likely to break off a long run. I think he gets a little bit more usage in the passing game as well. I don't love either Denver running back. It's just going to be hard to predict which one of these guys scores the touchdown. If they do, which one of these two gets the most touches. But again, if I have to pick a Denver running back on the slate, I'm going to side with Javonte Williams at 7K. And then you got Odell Beckham at 6,800, who is also questionable for this slate. We don't really know if Beckham's going to be in or out or not. He's got a shoulder injury. Again, guys, I'm recording this video on Wednesday afternoon, so we'll have to monitor this throughout the day on Thursday. For now, I'm going to assume that Odell Beckham plays. If he does, I know Odell Beckham has not been very good this year, especially for fantasy. Like, we really haven't seen him have a good game at all this season. But he's super, super cheap, man. Like, he's pretty affordable on this Showdown slate, only 6,800. Like, the fact that Odell Beckham is cheaper than some of these other guys, kind of baffles me. I know he's not been great. I know he's been pretty underwhelming so far this season. We haven't really seen Odell have a big game at all in a long, long time, really ever since he got with Cleveland. But I'm just kind of banking on the talent of Odell Beckham. I think we're going to see a big game from him at some point if he can just get healthy. If they can get the quarterback play right. Baker Mayfield's been really struggling. We'll have to see what Case Keenum can do come Thursday night. But if Odell Beckham does play, I do have a good amount of interest in him at 6,800. Jarvis Landry could maybe play come Thursday. I think it's pretty unlikely him and Jeudy return from injured reserve, but there is at least a possibility. Keep an eye on this. If Jarvis Landry does wind up playing, I'd assume, again, he probably will be on some sort of a limit. That would lower my interest a little bit in Odell Beckham, but OBJ would still be viable. Landry himself is fine too if he plays, but I think it's pretty unlikely he does. Donovan Peoples-Jones, though, has kind of come up these last few weeks. He's been really benefiting without Landry. Early on in the season, whenever Landry got injured, DPJ wasn't doing too much, but the last 2 weeks he's been putting up big games. 4 catches, 101 yards, 2 touchdowns last week. That was a little bit of a fluky performance. He caught like a 60 or 55 yard Hail Mary to end the second quarter last week, and then I think he caught another touchdown after that. He had 4 catches and 2 of those were touchdowns. That's not something that we can expect to happen every single week, but he's getting some opportunity. Last week he did play He did play on 78% of the snaps last week, 68% the week before that. His snap share has been kind of trending up. We don't really know if Odell Beckham's fully healthy right now. I think even if Odell plays, I'm probably going to just play him, just bank on the talent. But with Odell Beckham, maybe not 100%. With Jarvis Landry, probably not playing either. I mean, DPJ is like he's like the last healthy Browns receiver. He's the only guy that's 100% right now. At 6K, he feels priced correctly, or 6,400, excuse me. He feels priced correctly, but I do want to talk about his prop over on Prize Picks. Prize Picks, guys, they are the sponsor of this video. You can check out Prize Picks if you would like. Make sure that you use promo code NOAH. When you do sign up over there, you will get your first deposit matched up to $100. Prize Picks is a very simple platform. You just pick the over or the under on their projections. They have fantasy point projections. They also have player props, so passing yards, receiving yards, rushing yards. They have all that listed. They have a ton of props available for Thursday night's game that you can check out. But one prop that I do like is over 6 fantasy points for Donovan Peoples-Jones. Again, he's been seeing his snap share increase. He played 78% of the snaps last week. Odell's maybe not 100% right now. Jarvis Landry doesn't seem like he's going to play come Thursday night. If we're going to see Donovan Peoples-Jones play 75, 80% of the snaps, if he's going to see anywhere near 4, 5, 6 targets, 6 fantasy points, especially with Prize Picks being full PPR scoring, it's pretty easy to see him go over that number. So that is one pick I do like over on Prize Picks for this Thursday night game. And then the other pick I like, going back to Courtland Sutton, they only have him projected for 66.5 receiving yards. I kind of like the over there as well. He's gone over this number in 3 of their 5 games. Again, he's been a kind of alpha wide receiver 1 this year, getting double-digit targets almost on a weekly basis. We'll have to see if Teddy Bridgewater plays. Maybe if Teddy Bridgewater doesn't play, that might hurt Sutton a little bit, but I think Drew Lock can still do enough to where Sutton can go over 66.5 receiving yards. So I like the over on his receiving yards. I like the over on Donovan Peoples-Jones' fantasy points. You can take those 2 picks on Prize Picks. You can pair them together, do a power play. If you get both picks right, you would easily triple up your money, or you can make some other picks for yourself. You can make up to 5 picks. You can win up to 10 extra money on Prize Picks. So check them out, guys. Link down below in the description, or just make sure that you use promo code NOAH when you do sign up over there, so that way you do get your first deposit matched up to $100. But some other options, getting down in the 6K range and below 6K. Again, if Teddy Bridgewater does not play, Drew Lock will most likely move, or would most likely be the starting quarterback in that scenario, and Drew Lock is only 6K. If Teddy Bridgewater doesn't play, I think Drew Lock's probably the best play on the slate. It is really, really rare that we ever get quarterbacks at this price point. Usually Draftkings always makes the quarterbacks really expensive. But with the salaries coming out like yesterday or on Monday, they weren't able to adjust for all this injury news that came out. So keep an eye on Teddy Bridgewater's status. If he gets ruled out, if he does not play, Drew Lock, assuming he would start, would be a great option at 6K. He would be one of my favorite plays for sure on this slate. But then below 6K, starting to get down to some of the value. David Njoku at 5,400. Not a guy that really has much upside. I know he had that one big game in Week 5 against the Chargers where he went for 7, 149, and 1. But most weeks, David Njoku is just kind of like a touchdown or bust kind of guy. In terms of his snap percentage, he's not really playing a ton of snaps. He only played 44% of the snaps last week. I think Austin Hooper is still like the number 1 tight end for Cleveland. Cleveland doesn't really involve their tight ends much anyways. At his price point, I don't have much interest in Njoku. I think in order for Njoku to have a ceiling game, he's probably going to have to catch multiple touchdowns, and I'll just bank on that not happening. But then we get to the Cleveland running backs. This is where we get our really good value. So no Kareem Hunt, no Nick Chubb. That's going to put Dearness Johnson in as kind of the starting running back for Cleveland. Now, I don't know how much they're going to use Dearness Johnson in passing downs. I don't know if he's going to play much on third downs, but I think he will be kind of the primary running back. I think he'll get most of the touches on first and second downs. I think a good expectation for Dearness Johnson is probably 12 to 14 carries, and maybe he gets a few targets too. He did get a target last week. But yeah, without Kareem Hunt, without Nick Chubb, Dearness Johnson is basically the next man up, and he's only 4,600. It's really rare that we get starting running backs for this cheap. I think Johnson is probably the best value play overall on this slate. And then Demetric Felton is someone we could look to as well. Now, Felton doesn't really get much opportunity in the run game. They mainly just use him in the passing game. He did get 2 targets last week. I think he will be a guy that plays a lot on third downs. They might even line him up as a receiver at times. He probably gets maybe 3, 4, 5 targets. He's kind of expensive. I would definitely rather just play Johnson. I think Johnson, obviously gets more touches, but Felton will be involved. I think they're going to mainly use him in the passing game. but he's somewhat cheap. I mean, 5K. I think Felton is definitely playable. I do prefer Johnson, though, if I'm going to go to one of the two Cleveland running backs. Then you got the kickers. I think the kickers on this slate are fine. I would rather play Johnson, but I think, if you want to play one of the two kickers for value, that's totally fine. Kickers usually give you a pretty safe floor. The ceiling for kickers is not that high. A good game from a kicker is like 12 points, but if you want to go to one of the two kickers, I think that's something you can do. Then you got Austin Hooper at 3,800. Again, like Cleveland, man, they just don't involve their tight ends enough. Like Hooper did play on 75% of the snaps last week. He's played on at least 60% of the snaps in every single game this season, but the targets are just not there. Like at most, he's probably going to get 3 to 5 targets. You're hoping that he catches a touchdown. If he doesn't catch a touchdown, he's probably not going to do enough to where he's really someone that you have to have. So he's kind of like a touchdown or bust play. I don't think I'm going to go to Austin Hooper. I think I'd rather just get up to like Johnson. Rashad Higgins at 3,600 could maybe be someone worth going to. Again, we'll have to wait and see if Jarvis Landry plays, if Odell Beckham plays. If Jarvis Landry remains out, if Odell Beckham gets ruled out as well, then Rashad Higgins would basically be the wide receiver 2 behind Donovan Peoples-Jones. And if that's the case, I would like Rashad Higgins a good amount for value if he does wind up, moving up in the depth chart, depending on what happens with the injuries. So keep an eye on those injuries. Obviously, they are very important. If OBJ gets ruled out, if Jarvis Landry remains out, I think Rashad Higgins is a really good value. He is someone that I would have a lot of interest in that scenario. But if both those guys are in, or if one of those two are in, then I probably won't be going to Higgins on this slate. The defenses, I tend to not play defenses on Showdown slates. Defenses always tend to be over-owned, but man, this could be one of those games that you just see is really low scoring. It's really sloppy. There could be a lot of turnovers. I think the defenses are playable on this slate. I think if I was playing 150 lineups, I would have the defenses in my player pool. Still don't think they would be like my highest owned values or anything, but I don't mind, having exposure to the defenses. Normally, I just X out the defenses out of my player pool, but I think on this slate, we could just see a really low-scoring, sloppy game with a lot of turnovers, especially if we got two backup quarterbacks, starting here. So I think that's fine. And then lastly, Kendall Hitton's probably the last guy that I would want to mention at 2K. I don't think I'm going to be playing anyone else cheaper than him. But he did get 5 targets last week, and his snap percentage has also been, somewhat high. It's kind of trended up these last few weeks. He only played on 7% and 6% of the snaps weeks 2 and 3. But the last 3 weeks, 43% of the snaps, 65% of the snaps, and then last week, 63% of the snaps for Kendall Hinton. Got 5 targets, 5 catches for 37 yards. I don't know if he's someone that really has much upside, but if they're going to continue to play him on 60, 70% of the snaps, at only 2K, if you need the punt option, I think Kendall Hinton is someone that is playable. Now, if Jerry Jeudy somehow surprisingly comes off of IR and plays, then yeah, I'm going to be off of Kendall Hinton because at that point, he's like the wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5. But if Jeudy remains out, we still should get probably 60, 70% of the snaps played for Kendall Hinton, and he's only 2K, probably gets 3 or 4 or 5, maybe 5 targets. He's a fine punt option. I don't think you're going to need to go that cheap, but I think Kendall Hinton is playable. After that, though, there's really nothing else I see. I don't think anyone else is playable down here, at least just, first look. So that does it for this Showdown slate, guys. Real quickly, I do want to hit on roster construction for the slate. It is a really interesting one. I think there's multiple ways you can go. I think if I'm paying up at captain, I think Courtland Sutton is probably the guy that I would be looking to at captain. I think he's just the wide receiver that has like the most upside. I think his targets are the safest and the highest out of all the wide receivers on this game or in this game. So I do like playing Sutton at captain. And if you do play Sutton at captain, normally you're always going to want to pair the quarterback with the receiver, because if you're assuming the receiver has a big game, that obviously means the quarterback is doing well as well, because the quarterback is throwing the ball to the receiver. So if I'm playing Sutton at captain, I want to have Teddy Bridgewater in those lineups. If Teddy Bridgewater does not play and Drew Lock starts, then obviously you could put Drew Lock in there at 6K. Drew Lock, I think, would actually be captain viable too. Normally, again, I don't play quarterbacks at captain, but if Drew Lock winds up starting, I mean, he is super, super cheap. He's 9K at the captain spot, and Drew Lock definitely has upside if he, to pay off this price tag and be a really good play at this price point. Again, it's really rare you get starting quarterbacks that cheap. So, the Denver's starting quarterback news is big. We'll have to wait and see if Bridgewater plays. If he doesn't, really like Drew Lock, he's going to be a top option. But some other captains, like I think Odell, just banking on the talent. I think Odell's going to have a big game at some point. Does it happen here? Probably not. Like, this doesn't seem like the spot where Odell would really have a big game. But, at 6,800 at the flex, only 10-2 at captain, I think Odell makes some sense as like a mid-range captain option, assuming that he plays. Obviously, if you're playing Odell at captain, you probably want to pair him with Case Keenum. in those lineups. And then I think Dearness Johnson, again, we're getting a starting running back at what, 4,600, 6,900 in the captain spot. I think Dearness Johnson makes some sense as a cheaper captain. You play him at captain, and you got a lot of salary to work with. You could easily play, both quarterbacks. You could probably fit in a guy like Cortland Sutton. You could maybe fit in like Odell as well, especially like if Drew Lock winds up starting. Like if Drew Lock winds up starting over Bridgewater, you plug in Drew Lock at 6K, then you could fit in Sutton, you could fit in Keenum, and you could basically play whatever you wanted after that, because like basically all the studs are off the board in that case. But again, we're just gonna have to wait on that Teddy Bridgewater news. That's the big news we're kind of keeping an eye on as we get closer to kickoff on Thursday night. And then we got to keep an eye on the status of Odell Beckham, and we got to wait and see if maybe Jerry Jeudy or Jarvis Landry return from the IR. I would assume that both guys remain out, but there's at least somewhat of a possibility that they do return here. But yeah, guys, I think we broke down the showdown slate, talked through basically the entire player pool, broke everything down. I tried to give you guys kind of my thoughts on, if this guy's out, who benefits, who we should be playing. If Bridgewater's out, who we should be playing. If Odell's out, I tried to break it all down for you guys, but hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully it helped. If you did enjoy, click that like button down below. Click that subscribe button as well, guys. And also, comment down below. Let me know some of your favorite plays for tonight's showdown slate. I know it's a crazy slate. There's, so many question marks right now, so many guys ruled out. But let me know some of your favorite plays down in the comment section. I'm always reading the comments, always trying to reply to every single comment, and I appreciate your comments and your feedback too. And check out PrizePicks if you have not yet. They're the sponsor of this video. If you want to sign up for PrizePicks, use promo code Noah. When you do sign up over there, you will get your first deposit matched up to $100, and you can check out their entire board for Thursday night's game. You can tell me on the 2 picks I gave out in this video, or you can make some more picks for yourself. But make sure you use that promo code Noah when you sign up for PrizePicks, so that way you do get that deposit bonus. But does it, guys. I appreciate you watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Best of luck on the showdown slate, and we will see you in the next one. Peace.